This is Jonathan Agger, Fifth Pro Boxing Fans, joined by trainer Shane Mcguigan here ahead of Adam Azim's return against Rylan Charlton. First of all, Shane, congratulations on the newborn. How's everything going?
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's going all right. Yeah, I'm tired, but as most people are that are new parents. So, but no, it's amazing. I'm just trying to juggle getting to work in time and also being at home as much as I can, so it's good times.
Does it change how you balance things? Because obviously you've got a really big stable and now you've got a few-week-old child.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in a bit earlier so that I can get home and miss the traffic, but apart from that, not really, no. I get a little bit more annoyed if someone's late, but understandable.
Well, let's get on with Adam Azim. Rylan Charlton's a fight that's been talked about for best part of a year now, I think. Why do you think Adam's always wanted this fight, or have you always wanted this fight?
I've always wanted it for him because I believe that stylistically it's exactly what he needs to sort of showcase his ability. I think if someone stands off him and tries to just get through rounds, and not come to win, it's boring for the fans. Do you know what I mean? You've obviously just got to jump in on them and try and beat them up, but you're not really learning anything. You want fights that you're going to have to switch on, you're going to have to use your jab, you're going to have to slow the pace down or pick the pace up, and develop as a fighter, because we've done it when it comes to matching fighters with like Josh Taylor or even people like Billam-Smith and stuff like that. Like over the years, you got to know your fighter and when to push them and test them. And I just don't think he's learning. That's loud. I don't think he's learning anything from the fights that he's had today. I was expecting a half decent fight with Conor Marsden, but obviously that lasted 12 seconds. Hopefully this fight we can get some rounds, because it's going to be, it's just natural, right? Us as boxing fans, we're going to sit there and go like, well, I want to see him tested. So, all right, yeah, cool, he's not that guy. Who's next? He's not on that level. Let's just jump him right up, and then he'll get to a level that he's not had enough tests, and it's just no going back from that level. So, I need to get him this experience, couple at this level before we push him on.
And where do you rank Rylan in terms of this step up? Is he sort of fringe British level? Would you say he's at the British level or a bit higher?
Yeah, I mean, like Luke Willis beat him, but that was a competitive fight at lightweight. He obviously gave Florian Marku a decent fight. He dropped him, and he pushed the pace, and it was a competitive fight. And he's a welterweight. He's a fully fledged one at that, and a good one. So. He's only been stopped by Marku, and he's been beaten at over 3-round distance by Dylan Cheeman. But if he'd have put that into a 10-round contest, I believe he would have, and they're both fresh, I believe that Rylan would have beaten him. So it's when it comes to British level, it's one of the fights that I knew that he would take it because his game is anything. Other guys that might be potentially better on paper, they won't take it because they'll be risking too much. But now that, I think after this fight, I think a few people will want to step forward, because a bit like the Amir Khan situation coming through, there's enough money in the pot to be able to pay these guys domestically to fight, and they might not care about losing because they're thinking, well, he's a super talented kid and he's going to go on to achieve great things.
Got Hassan on the bill as well. Where do you assess his progress in comparison to Adam? I know he's had far less amateur experience, but
they had the same amount of amateur fights. Yeah. The only thing is that just when it comes to like the depth of the division is harder at welterweight. Even domestically, it's harder. You've got people like Chris Congo, McKinson, Jenkins, decent names, guys that know their way around the ring, and they can really, they can take away power shots. And like Hassan's full of power. He just needs to get a little bit more refined, a little bit more finesse to his work. And I think we need a bit more time. Not much more, but we need a little bit more time to develop it. But he had a bit of a flat performance in his last one. Hurt the guy early and then rushed his work. But these are all lessons. He's only a kid. These guys are kids. Arguably, they should still be amateurs, but you've got one way of doing it. You either learn at an international as an amateur, and then you turn pro and get extremely fast-tracked, or you learn as a pro and you go slightly slower.
got busy few weeks coming up before Christmas with Dubois, Billam-Smith out, Caroline.
Hassan probably again as well. Yeah, busy few weeks. Got 2 out this week. We've got Daniel against Kevin Lorena, which is not an easy fight. Obviously defending his WBA regular world title. Chief support on a massive card in Tottenham. So excited about that one. Really excited about that one as well. And then a few weeks later, we've got the Christmas cracker. Got CBS boxing in Bournemouth against a Kosovan German that's had 2 losses, but gave a good account of himself when he boxed Masternek. He got stopped, but until then he hurt Masternek a few times early in the fight. So we're going to have to be switched on. But obviously, the plan for us is not looking past his next fight, but we do want to fight for a world title. He's so highly ranked, we could have sat it out and waited for someone like Jay Aptaya to come forward, but Gulamarian is boxing next weekend, or this weekend, sorry. I think he's boxing this weekend. You've got Lawrence, who's sitting out at the moment. You've got Aptaya that's coming back from a jaw injury, and then Makabu, who's in La La Land in terms of like he's with Don King and they're just asking for silly money. So we have actively approached quite a few different people for the fights, and I think the IBF is a fight that I know that we will get a chance to they'll honour it for us.
There's a couple more I wanted to ask you before we finish off. Obviously, the main event of Daniel's fight is Fury against Chisora 3. Received a lot of criticism. Frank Warren said they couldn't get anyone else pretty much. But what's your view on sort of the fight and I guess what Derek would have to do to stand any chance of winning?
Derek's going to be Derek, isn't he? He's going to come forward and try and wing over the top, and that works for guys that are slightly shorter. Just doesn't work for a guy that's 6'9". And it's not like he's got the transition to be able to transition from outer range to shoot in. His body's tired. He's very one-paced. But he's tough as anything, and he takes a good shot. And I think Tyson will break him down and probably stop him 5 rounds, 6 rounds. But he is at the same stage. He's number 1 on paper, isn't he, in the world? So you would kind of expect that.
And we saw Tommy Fury in action over the weekend in Dubai. Obviously, previous to that, I know you had a few sessions with him, was going to train him for the Jake Paul fight. Would you consider training him again if there was another fight that came up, say with Jake Paul?
For the Jake Paul fight, yeah, I think so. I think it's a fight that's winnable for him. Definitely. I think he's got a good jab and he's got a fast enough right hand, Tommy. He just needs a little bit more finesse. He needs a little bit more technique work. His punches are a bit wide, a bit clubby. They need a little bit more snap on them. And the way you develop snap is working on your base and not necessarily sparring. And it's a lot of conditioning when it comes to pads, going through the shot, hitting it with full force, just changing those gears. I think he could jab the ears off Jake Paul, in my opinion. I think, Jake Paul's got a very fast right hand over the top, but I didn't actually watch his last fight with Silva, but it's, when it comes to technical ability on boxing, he's a little bit lacking. He's just got a fast right hand. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting fight. When it comes to the YouTube fights, it is probably the most interesting fight out of every other one.
Just closing off, you've got Terence Crawford fighting David Avanesyan at the end of the year. If you were sort of coaching Avanesyan to go and with someone like Terence Crawford, you've been up against pound for pound stars before. What sort of would you be saying to him? I mean, it doesn't seem like there's that many holes with Crawford, so how would you go about it if you're in the same position?
I say get yourself as much money as you can, because Crawford's he's the nuts. Do you know what I mean? He's brilliant. He can fight all ranges. He can punch with your hand. He's really filled into the welterweight division. Avanesyan is a very good fighter, fringe level, fantastic fighter, but he will always come unstuck at the top level, because that division is just Crawford, Spence. You got Boots, Ennis. It's just a really hard division, and they can all punch. It's just the light welterweights can punch, but then it's just like another level of power when they go up to welterweight. They're just that bit bigger, and they can just generate that much more power. And I think Crawford is so disciplined. What he did to Victor Postol is just I remember watching that fight because I had Josh Taylor boxing for Boston. I watched it time and time again, kept studying it. He's just incredible with his judgment of distance, his discipline, his control, his punching power, his shot selection. And it's not that he really excels in any one thing. It's not like he's got crazy hand speed or crazy power. He's just so well maximised on all areas.
How do you think Boots would do against Spence and Crawford?
I like Boots. I think he's the next one. Not sure how he'd do against Crawford, but I think with Spence, I think Spence is a little bit slower. I think he might do a bit. He might beat Spence, but I think he's going to be the one that's going to come through.
Shane, really appreciate your time. Take care.
Thank you very much.